in real estate, in wholesaling, which is something we're looking at, now, you have to be calling people. You have to be talking to people. You have to be reaching out to people. And a lot of times you're reaching out to people that, they're not sitting there waiting for you to call. They may be doing something else. As a matter of fact, a lot of times we're in interruption. So we really have to be on point.
Hey, what's up, Masters? Welcome to another episode of Path to Mastery. Today, we have a cool episode, at least cool in my perspective, because it's me being interviewed by Mike Simmons. And, it's cool. He asked really great questions. And, we kind of talk about my trajectory as a salesperson. And, hey, I had fun. I think you'll find it, informative. And, I think you're going to get some really, really good nuggets on some of the things that I went through in order to get me to where I am, today in sales and sales training and all the things that I do. So I don't know. I just had a really, really good time with it. I hope you find it useful as well. And he also referred to my episode with Gary V, which also is a really great episode to go back and listen to, because it'll show you how I, worked it out to get Gary on the show and the whole process. I know a lot of my listeners probably have already listened to that episode, but if you haven't listened to that episode yet, episode number 121, go back and check it out. And it's really cool. And no matter what business you're in, you can use that same strategy to land your dream client. So anyway, Mike, thank you so much for the interview. You did a fantastic job. Super fun. And you, my friends, you Path to Mastery Master listeners, I just hope you really enjoy it. And hey, give me some feedback. Let me know what you think. Give us a review too. Reviews help so much. Please, if you'd be willing to give us a review after, that's amazing. If you give me a review and then email me at david@davidihill.com, I will give you the props and I'll read your review online on the podcast. Even if it's a horrible review, tell me I stink. I'll still read it anyway. Okay, that said, hey, don't forget about our monthly meetup every second Thursday of the month. Go to weloverealestate.net. Jump on, be on here live with me and all the rockstar guests that we bring on. It's super, super fun. Just go to weloverealestate.net, get registered for the next meetup. You'll get all the notifications you need. You can be on a live podcast episode and interact with these rock stars. Hey, don't forget about Vulcan 7, who's our sponsor, been our sponsor for years. Just go check out their tools, their data, everything you need for prospecting. Go to vulcan7.com/path to mastery for all your needs, in a special opportunity for our listeners, you masters. And finally, don't forget about coaching. Super excited to be launching the coaching going into the new year. It's a perfect time. Jump on, try a call, see what you think. You're going to leave with some insights regardless. Just go to trycoaching.net, sign up for a free call. Love to work with you on a 30-minute call. So again, trycoaching.net. Get registered for that. My friends, enjoy this episode with Mike Simmons and I. Man, we had some fun today. And hey, if no one told you this today, you rock.
Hey, David, thank you for being on the show. I appreciate you joining us here. Very cool to have you on. I'm excited to talk to you.
Yeah, man, thanks. It's an honor to be here. Appreciate you inviting me.
Awesome, for sure. Now let's give people a better sense. Obviously, we gave them some of the highlights in the beginning, but let's give them a better sense of who you are, what your background is, how you got into all the things you're into. Like, where did you start and what got you into this world now? And how did you kind of find your way into this sales, sales guru, sales master, sales expert? How did you become that?
Yeah, man. Thanks for asking. I started literally, I remember, I'm going to go way back. So as a 17-year-old, I saw an ad that said basically make a ton of money working part-time. It was like, I don't know, it was like $100,000. Back, at that was like a billionaire, right? When you're 17, making $100,000.
Exactly.
So anyway, I called and they said, okay, come on down. And I ended up going to this little call center at Webster Square, Worcester, Mass. And that was where it all started. I ended up calling for, it was a Kirby vacuum cleaner call center. So basically what I would do is I would literally just call the list they gave me, and they gave me a script and call and try to set up appointments for people to have somebody come to their house and give them a demonstration on this $1,500 vacuum cleaner back then. And that's where it all started, and I started there and I did that for a while and I was somewhat effective with it. I didn't love it, honestly. I ended up going and working for it's now Chase. Years back then, it was MBNA, America Bank credit card company.
Okay.
That was when it was legal to take credit card applications over the phone or to get people to agree to it. So I was calling a lot of people, and same thing, list, script. I had a ton of success with that. But I'll tell you, I honestly, I was there for, I don't know, about a year, and I did not feel, I don't know, I just felt like some of the people that were agreeing to take applications, it didn't feel right. You know what I mean? It just, although they were saying yes, and I was raising my hand and they were coming over and the guy was closing, it just didn't feel right. So I left. I went into publishing, and I went to work for a magazine in 1986 or something. I don't know, going way back. And I sold advertising. That's how I literally called telephone books. I called other trade magazines. I went door to door. I went business to business. I had accounts like back in the day. I had AT&T, Verizon, Sherwin-Williams. I mean, I would go to these big companies and get into their media departments, and that I just cold call and get them a media kit. And that's where I started. And then in 2002, one day my 10-year-old daughter, my daughter Jacqueline back then, came home one day and said, "Hey, mom's friend Amy makes a ton of money selling real estate. You should get a real estate license." I was like, "What are you talking about?" Went to bed that night. Next morning, woke up. First thing on my mind was, "Hey, I should look at getting my real estate license." Got my real estate license, and the rest is history, man. Listed 7 homes my first month with 4 sale by owners. Built a team, closing over 100 houses. We were doing 95 to 110 houses a year for years. Became a Keller Williams team leader. So I recruited a couple hundred agents into KW, and actually recruited for Gary Keller personally. My last 7 months at KW, I worked with Gary calling independent brokerages around the country. And then I just, for a lot of different reasons, I chose to leave Keller Williams, and now I'm at EXP and love it. And here we are today. So that kind of gave you everything, right?
No, that's good, man. So was your daughter 10 when she suggested that you go into be a realtor? Is that?
Yeah, 10. So she's 27 now. So I've been in real estate just around 18 years.
Does she know what an impact that she had on your trajectory? I mean, is she aware that she started that?
Yeah, I've told her many times. She just smiles. I can't get her to jump into real estate, which she would be amazing, but she doesn't want anything to do with it. She's a school teacher. Likes being a school teacher, and I got a daughter
the same age as school teacher. Same thing. It's funny. That's awesome. So how much of your sales skill, how much of the sharpening that sales knife do you attribute to those early years, beating the bushes, cold calling, door knocking, all that kind of stuff? How much did you learn in that time?
I would say I learned resilience. I'm not sure I wouldn't tell you there was this great training program, because there really wasn't. It was like, here's your script and just make as many contacts as you can and you'll find somebody. But it created resilience, and it also, it helped me be able to deal with a lot of rejection, to not let things like that take that stuff personal. And it's helped me over the years. I mean, I wrote a lot about it in my book. And in chapter 3, we talk about call reluctance. And, I think that's an area it's probably helped me more than anything else, is just the ability to, in sales, not take things personally, just go into it from a place of, listen, I'm just trying to help you to achieve whatever goal you have. Sometimes I can do that. Other times I can't. And if I can't, then, hey, that's it. I'm going to move on to someone else that I can help. And I think it took years to get to that place.
Yeah.
But I think it all started, when I was young. And I think that's one of the biggest mistakes I see with a lot of salespeople is, they're so worried about, fear of call reluctance or fear of rejection, or they don't want to say the wrong thing, or they need to be right and look right. And I think that's a mistake that a lot of salespeople make.
So is what did you call reluctance? Is that basically the resisting the need to make those calls? Is that what it is? Or I know you talked about thick skin and kind of that don't take it personally, but what is the reluctance part?
Yeah, I mean, call reluctance is just, it's what we call it's really a mindset, right? It's not a tangible thing. It's more of it's like the mindset. So I have, I know in the morning that if I want to be successful, all I need to do is talk to 5 people today. But yet my mindset's going to tell me, that little voice that we all have, the little voice, everybody
I know
listening to
voice,
the little voice that just said, "Hey, what's that? What little voice?" That, that little voice. So, but the reality is we psych ourselves out so much. Like, oh my God, well, what if I say the same thing? Or what if I don't know what to say, right? Is a form of car reluctance. Or, there's also fear of rejection, or well, geez, I don't want to get rejected, and I don't, like, it's just that mental, geez, I'm trying to think of the right words for it. It's just that what we do it to ourselves. We're so concerned with not being, right, or not looking good. And another form of car reluctance, frankly, is fear of success. I mean, sometimes people do things and you have success at it, and maybe it was a lot harder than you thought, and like, oh my gosh, I don't want to have to do that again. So you kind of stop, you put the brakes on. Fear of rejection is the biggest by far. There's lack of role acceptance is another one. Somebody has their MBA, yet they're cold calling, and they're thinking like, geez, I went to college, I've got a degree here, but yet I'm calling freaking for sale by owners, or I'm calling, homeowners to see if they'd be interested in selling their house. Like, this is below me. I mean, that's another example of car reluctance. So it's a mental thing. Yeah, is really what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. So this may be a weird question, but do you think that salespeople are born, or are they created? Can you become a great salesperson if that's not something that you have any background, or maybe it's not your natural tendency, someone who's a reluctant salesperson? Can they be great, or do you think it's just you kind of are born with it, or you're not?
It's a good question, Mike. I would say so from my experience, and I've brought a lot of good salespeople into the real estate world, and a lot of really, really highly successful people. And I've also brought in a lot of people that failed, that weren't able to do it. And so what I've learned over the years is, I don't know that you're born a salesperson or not. I wouldn't say it's not like, you have a baby, and I think I heard Zig Ziglar say this years ago, like, oh my God, I've had a listing specialist, right? It's that's a joke in real estate, but I think it's really a matter of, are you willing to get, outside of your thoughts, be comfortable, and just do some of the things be uncomfortable is what I meant to say. Yeah. And do some of the things that, because in sales, if you're going to be good at sales, you have to be proactive in some capacity. Right. Unless you're just, somebody that just deals with incoming calls, and sometimes that's fine. But in real estate, in wholesaling, which is something we're looking at, now, you have to be calling people, you have to be talking to people, you have to be reaching out to people. Yeah. And a lot of times you're reaching out to people that, they're not sitting there waiting for you to call. They may be doing something else. As a matter of fact, a lot of times we're in interruption. So we really have to be on point. So to go back to your question, I would say it's conditioning, but you need somebody mentally tough. And, going back to the car reluctance thing, I think it's really important that if you're the type of person that can't get beyond your own ego and beyond you not looking good and you being right all the time, I think you're going to struggle in sales. I'm not the type that's going to say, well, you've got this great personality and that's why you're great at sales. Because I know a lot of salespeople that are phenomenal salespeople and frankly don't have really big personalities at all. You know what I mean? But they're really good at sales because they're purposeful about it.
Yep. Yeah, I have found, you mentioned a couple times like fear of this and fear of that. What I've noticed about the salespeople that I've been around that are really good is they're not afraid of rejection. They're not afraid of there's a guy that my partner in my business, he always says one of the best things about good salespeople is they're not afraid of being uncomfortable. And sometimes, for us, we do a lot of wholesaling. You mentioned that you guys are looking at it now. We do a lot of wholesaling. So sometimes we're in the home and we have to, eventually you've got to kind of tell them what it is you could pay for their house or what you're willing to pay. Yeah. And it's usually lower than what they were kind of hoping. And that's an uncomfortable thing to say. So his thing is, I make more money by just letting there be very uncomfortable, awkward silence and wait until they talk. Tell them what you have to tell them and just be quiet and wait. And people's tendency is to fill, that dead space, to fill that empty space. And he's like, I've sat there for what felt like minutes, just waiting And the silence is horrible. But a good salesperson realizes that and they can do it, right? And most people just can't. They're just like, oh my gosh, that was so uncomfortable. I don't ever want to do that again. When I started my company, I had to do sales because I was the only person in the company. And I was adequate. I was okay, like at best. So I wasn't that great. And it wasn't until I brought in a really good salesperson that I realized the difference between adequate, okay, and really good is tremendous. And there's a lot of difference in the revenue when you have a really good salesperson. So it made me realize and really respect the difference of having really good salespeople as opposed to people who are doing it because they kind of have to, which was what I was doing. Even as the owner of the company, I had to do it. Wasn't great at it. So that all being said, what is it about when you were building your brokerage, when you were building that and you were kind of growing, what do you think? Because I've talked to people who tried to build, a team and it just didn't work. Like, what do you think you did well that allowed you to build that team and have that success early on?
It's going to sound interesting. I would say, a lot of failure, man. A lot of people coming and going. I made a lot of mistakes, but I didn't give up. I would tell you that's probably the thing more than anything else that made me successful with my team was the fact that I didn't stop. I didn't say, forget about it. This doesn't work. And I've seen far too many agents, they say, they get all pumped. They're going to start a team. They're going to hire some people. They hire some people. They're not the right people. They don't have nearly the same work ethic as they do. They're not committed. They get frustrated and they just say, this doesn't work. And then they just say, forget about it. And they don't build a team. And I would say the difference between me is I just kept say, okay, this person's not, clearly they're not motivated. So I'm going to go find someone else. They're not motivated. Okay, I'll find someone else. So now I realize, okay, I got a motivated person, but you know what? I'm just really not that great of a leader. So now I got to work on my leadership skills and I got to become a better leader and I got to learn how to understand people and what their goals are and how to help people to not just, even if you find somebody that's motivated, you can unmotivate them, frankly. And I've done that in the past too. So I think there's a lot of things, Mike. I think it's finding the right people, but then also being the right leader, and I think that's going to be the key to that, to building
totally
a good team.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like you can get really good at whatever it is it takes to start and launch your business. But as soon as you start bringing people on, you kind of sometimes go from being the person doing the work to the person leading, training, motivating, like you said, and being a really great, realtor, a great salesperson in any capacity doesn't necessarily make you a great leader.
No, not
it's
even
like
close.
A skill you have to then acquire and that skill. And I think, people put a lot of time and energy into learning to be great at the operations side of it, like the technician side of it. And then, like you said, I've done the same thing. I brought people in that were motivated and I've crushed them because I was sort of jerky to work for. I didn't mean to be, but I just thought go do it, man. I'm paying you, like, go get it. Right. And it's like, not everyone's motivated by that kind of motivation. So it's just like kids, right? You have kids. Each of your kids are probably motivated differently. They have things that you can and can't do to make them feel like they want to do something. So it's just learning those skills as a leader is a whole different ballgame. So true. Absolutely. I'm glad you said that because that's a great point. I think people forget it. Like for me, just tell me what you want and I'll do it. And some people need to be shown more of that. And some people need to be led a little bit more than that. So that's huge. That's really huge.
Hey, Masters, I'm going to get you right back to the show. I promise. Give me 1 minute. Do not forget about our friends Vulcan 7 with their services, their dialer, their built-in CRM, the data they give you, the phone numbers, just the flexibility with their system is amazing. I've been using it for over 10 years. There's some great opportunities, some special deals for listeners to Path to Mastery. Just check out vulcan7.com/path to mastery for some of the special offers. Hey, our meetup every second Thursday of the month, 4 p.m. Eastern. It's been amazing. We've got another one coming up this month. You don't want to miss it. You want to be in this conversation. It's essentially a way for you to be on Path to Mastery podcast, interact with our rock star guests. It's awesome. And I don't even want to, it's amazing. So jump on the second Thursday of every month. Just go to David's Meetup wholesaled.com to get registered. You can also register, which we're going to be changing the name to weloverealestate.net. So you can go to weloverealestate.net as well. Get registered there. And hey, I look forward to seeing you on the meetup. Make sure you say hello. And finally, hey, coaching, right? 2020 has been a drag. It's been a tough year for a lot of us. And listen, if you feel like you're stuck, I want to help you make that change going into the new year. Let's help you make 2021 the best year you've ever had in real estate. I am working with a select group of agents that are looking to take it to that next level. So if you're interested, just go to trycoaching.net, sign up for a 30-minute complimentary coaching call. This is a coaching call. It's not a sales call. It's a complimentary 30-minute call. And then after the call, if you decide you want to move forward with us, we can talk about that. My friends, this offer only goes through December 31st. So again, go to trycoaching.net. Man, I think that was more than a minute, but I do appreciate your time and enjoy the rest of the show.
So you mentioned, and you held up for a second, your book, The Sales Playbook. What made you want to write a book? Why write a book, and why write that book?
Yeah, it was an idea I had for years, and frankly, I just hadn't got around to it. And finally, a friend of mine is Jarek Robbins is a good friend of mine. It's Tony's youngest son, and him and I coached for a little bit, and he, just talking to him, it was one of the things that was there that I had not, implement. It was one of the things I just wasn't doing. I'd write a little bit, and then I would stop, wouldn't write again for months. So Jarek wrote a book called Live It, which is a fantastic book, by the way. And he set me up with his ghostwriter. He ghostwrote his book. And ultimately hiring that ghostwriter and writing that big check was what helped me finish the book, and the reason why I wrote the book is because it's all the things we've talked about today. It's everything that's helped me to become successful. And my purpose in life, and again, this comes from coaching with Jarek, is inspiring millions. That's my vision to, I inspired people by sharing powerful life experiences. So what I can do is share all the experiences I've had. And if that can help somebody, and in many, many ways it can, then I can help you become a better person or a better version of yourself. So the writing the book was giving my blueprint on, hey, here's 11 strategies so that you can become more effective at sales. And that's ultimately what the book's about. And, and now, as we talked about earlier, I'm doing a rewrite. I just bought it back from the publisher. So it's not even on Amazon right now. They took it down, and we're doing some rework. So I'd say about 30 days, it'll be back up on Amazon with a 2.0 version with a new chapter. And I'm super, super excited about that. And I own the rights, so I can do whatever I want with it. I can share chapters. I can do all kinds of really cool stuff now that I couldn't do.
It's good to own your own work, for sure. And by the way, when you're saying 30 days from now, as you're listening to this, it is on Amazon, guys. So
thank you. So there's my accountability right there too now. I love that.
Oh, yeah, that's right, man. People are going to be looking for it. The Sales Playbook. So make sure you check that out. David Hill, the Sales Playbook. Okay, so let's talk about this. You in my notes here, you talk about the hidden gold mine in your pocket. What is the hidden gold mine in your pocket? What does that mean?
Yeah, it's well, with the context of it for the book is we're talking about this thing right here, right? The cell phone.
Yep.
Yes. So that is the hidden gold mine in your pocket, and most people aren't going to pick it up and be proactive with it. So that, in the context of what you just said, there's another gold mine though, is it's not just the phone, but it's all these, see this right here? I want everybody to go into your phone and go to your contacts list. And then what I want you to do is I want you to click on the contacts button, and then you can scroll all the way to the bottom. So everybody do this right now. Pick up your phone, hit contacts, and just keep scrolling all the way, just like this. Now, what does that say at the bottom? Mine says 5,972. What does yours say?
Jeepers creepers, not that. It says 658.
Okay, great. So you have 658. Mine are probably a lot of weird stuff, and all these people I've talked to over the years that I just put their number in the phone, or
Yep.
cab ride, Cabo, whatever, all kinds of weird stuff, right? But the reality is that's the gold mine. All those people, and I'm out of these people here, I probably have relationships with at least 1,000 of them.
Yeah.
Half of them I haven't talked to in ages.
Right.
So going back and getting those conversations started again, checking in with those guys.
Yeah.
How the heck are you, man? How you been? Geez, I haven't talked to you in years. What are you doing?
Right.
How can I help you? Like, what business are you in now? What can I do to help you? Right.
Wow. That's awesome.
I mean, that's it.
Huge.
It's that simple. It doesn't have to be any more complicated than that. Like, oh, hey, I got my license. Do you want to hire me for real estate? No, you don't need to even say that stuff anymore.
Yeah.
You know,
it's so true. It's such a powerful thing. People use it to, play Angry Birds or whatever, Candy Crush. And it's like, you're right. It's right there. And it's something that people are constantly have their face in, they're constantly have their eyes on. So
many people hide behind text these days too, man. It's
so you're saying you're calling them, like you're actually like calling them.
Yeah, I call a lot. I do text as well. And I also do a lot with Facebook now. So we're doing more of that, just being proactive. But I think a lot of people do hide behind text. I think text, I think the best form of, communication is like, me sitting across from you live. But I would say this right here is the second best, right? Because we can see each other. Yeah. Right. I can see your expressions. I can really pay attention to your facial gestures, everything. The next is going to be the telephone, because we have the verbal, the audio. Sure. We can hear those intricacies. Text, you're not getting any of that at all. And the same thing with email, right? As a matter of fact, text is even worse because it's so short. And then what happens is our interpretation of what they're saying comes into play. So if I just had an argument with, I don't know, maybe my wife and I just had a disagreement or something, and then all of a sudden I get a text from somebody, that can show up in the way I perceive that or read that text.
Yeah, and it's funny. People, you mentioned the shortness of text. I have daughters and one son, but my daughters will text me something like, "Hey, Dad, you should do this," or whatever. Like, "Hey, this is," and I'll write back. I'll just write the letter K and hit send because I hate texting. And they'll be like, next time they see me, they'll be like, "Why? What were you mad about?" I was like, "What do you mean? I wasn't mad." Well, you just wrote K. Like that sounds like you're mad. It's like it's just the interpretation.
Because you need emojis
you need emojis, and it's like I am not trying to be rude, but I'm telling you,
I'm not a great texter.
Type the letter K. I'm going to do it again, so just know I'm not mad.
Well, you know what, Mike? So that's a great point. So set those expectations ahead of time. So hey, here's how because I'm the same as you. I like as short as possible, but I let people know, hey, listen, this isn't personal. Yeah. I care about you. It's just efficiency. That's it.
Yeah.
So, I think that's great.
Very cool. You mentioned getting into wholesaling. I'm just curious, why? Why do you want to do that? Because you have your brokerage with EXP you mentioned. And for me as a wholesaler, it's sort of the anti-realtor route. It's a lot of realtors aren't a huge fan of wholesalers because they feel like they're taking some of their business. So how do you marry those two, and why did you decide to become a wholesaler or have that in your arsenal?
Yeah, I would say I've always been a realtor that has been I've always adapted to what's happening in the market. And I think that there's going to be a change. In 2008 and 9, I was doing REO business. We killed it with REO. As soon as the market shifted, I started contacting banks. I started, getting in with these asset companies, and it was huge. And then we went into short sales. In 2010, 11, I was the number one short sale guy in my area. And I just feel like wholesaling is probably going to be one of the next shifts, I think, in real estate or evolutions. And the other thing is, I think there's if you follow what's happening now, and call me crazy because nobody's really talking about this, but there are millions of people right now that are 3 months behind on their mortgages. There's millions of people that are filing for unemployment. I could be wrong, but I hear like weekly. No, so the thing is, everybody's focusing on right this moment. Yes, right this moment, inventory is low, houses are selling as soon as you put it on the market. The challenge with everything that's happening now is in real estate, it's a lag. What's happening now shows up a year from now.
Yep.
So that's part of the reason I like wholesaling. And another part of the reason I think it's a fantastic model. I wish I took a course last year. I paid somebody $2,500 to teach me how to wholesale. It was effective. It was cool. But then I took a course with Kent Clothier. I'm sure you know who he is. And then he showed me the real way to do it, which was actually smart, because the first time I learned I went and I found all these potential sellers, and then I had to go find a buyer. Kent was the opposite. Yeah. And maybe you have something else to add to this, but Kent said, no, what you want to do is you want to find the buyers first, the cash buyers, then identify the areas they want to be in, what they want, and then go find the properties for them. Yep. And to me, that just makes a lot more sense.
That's awesome. That's that whole Memphis Invest model, right? That's his, I believe, a company he's associated with his family.
He's REWW, Real Estate Worldwide.
Gotcha.
Yeah, he does a lot with that training and stuff. So yeah, it's good. It's good.
Yeah, it's totally good. Is that is the approach? I'm just trying to understand logistically here. Do you go into a home as a realtor and downshift to like, hey, this isn't going to make sense for me to list, maybe deferred maintenance, whatever the problem, and then we also have this solution? Yeah. Is that kind of the model?
So here's something really cool that a lot of people don't realize yet is there's three large companies out there right now that do iBuyer: Zillow, OfferPad. There's three. I can't remember the top three now. There's three really, really big ones. What did you say?
Opendoor.
Opendoor. Sorry. Yeah. Opendoor, Zillow, and then the last one I can't remember right now. But what EXP is rolling out a platform called Express Offers, and essentially they're going to be offering a very similar service through a brokerage. So in my mind, it's a tool. It's just another tool in my tool belt, so that when I show up to meet with somebody, if it's the kind of house that I know I can't just go throw on the MLS, then I have that tool available to them. Yeah. And the cool thing now with EXP is I can do it right through my brokerage. I go through all the disclosures with them, and I say, okay, if you're interested, here's a link, go in there, fill all that out, put in your information, and we will generate an offer for you. Now I don't have to go now try to find cash buyers and things like that. So it's really, really cool. So that's something that's coming down the road. So I'm actually in the process right now of getting certified to be an Express Offers agent. I'm doing it actually right now. I spent about 30 minutes studying this morning. So I'm excited about that.
Is the sales process or the techniques you're using in your business, is it different with that kind of an offer? Do you have to adjust your approach?
I mean, it depends who I'm talking to, right?
Okay.
I'm talking to a seller who has a $500,000 house, and they're looking to downsize, and they want to get into that's not a conversation we're going to be having, right?
Sure.
Somebody registers for a home evaluation on my website, and their home's worth $180,000. I take a look at it. They need a kitchen, bathrooms, a roof. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's somebody that may be a better option for, right? Or somebody they're behind on their mortgage 4 months, and they want to avoid foreclosure. They still got some equity in their house. That's somebody that we're going to talk. It's the same thing as when I was doing short sales. Same thing as REOs. So I want to come in, and I'm an advisor. You know what? Here's, based on your situation, here are the options. And that it's probably not the right option for a lot of people. Same thing with wholesaling. Wholesaling is not. So right now I've got about 7 or 8 wholesaling potential people. The one thing I didn't expect with wholesaling is the process is just like anything else. There's a lot of follow-up involved. There's a lot of nurturing involved. So, I've got about 7 or 8 people that have homes that are just kind of watching the market right now.
Yeah.
And I think at some point they'll pull the trigger, and they're going to call me, whether it's to do a wholesale, or some of them, we just put it on the market. It makes more sense for them to put it on the market, and we'll market it through the MLS, and we'll get them more money because the house warrants that.
Yep. You mentioned earlier, and I wanted to say, I may be crazy, but this is what I think is going to happen. You are not crazy. I've talked to a lot of folks, a lot of smart guys like you who've been around for a while. I have yet to find anybody who's been in this industry for any length of time that doesn't 100% think we're heading for a correction of some kind, a downturn. Some people swear it's going to be worse than 08. Some people swear it's not going to be as bad, but everyone agrees something's happening. So I think you're totally right. And I think, people ask me a lot, like, how's the market? How's real estate? It's like, it's great. It's just, you have to know what phase, what cycle of the market you're in. and adjust to it. And if, like you just said, right, when you got in and over the years, you just adjusted. You went from doing, short sales to this, to pre-foreclosures, whatever. Like you just you move with the cheese, so to speak, right? Like you change based off of what the conditions are. And there's nothing, the market is it's neither good nor bad. It's just what it is. And if you have to make the adjustments. So yeah, I think that's fantastic. Let's talk about, we mentioned your book, The Sales Playbook. And like we said, accountability. As you listen to this, he said he'd have it back on Amazon, so you can go and check that out and grab that book.
I love it. I love it, man.
The other thing is the Path to Mastery podcast. We chatted for a minute before we hopped on here live. One thing that stood out to me, I'm a Gary Vee fan. I spoke at Agent 2021, by the way. I was there. I spoke.
Oh, awesome.
Is that, you showed up there and through some series of events, you got Gary on your podcast, which was total. I wasn't able to finagle that. So hats off to you, man. I appreciate the hustle on that one. But you've had some big guests on there. Why did you start the podcast? What was the reason behind that? And how's that, that experience been for you?
Yeah, it's been amazing, man. The podcast has been awesome. Gary, having Gary on was a big goal of mine. So I followed him around for a while. I think it's episode, I was trying to find out I don't remember what episode it is that.
Do
you remember? I think it might be episode 113.
Okay.
It's either, I'm sorry, episode 121 is the episode that will tell you how I got Gary on the podcast.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love the podcast. It's been fun. The reason I started it was because I wanted to promote this book. And I thought, hey, that'd be a great way to do that. And honestly, I ended up falling in love with podcasting, and it's just been amazing. It's opened up a lot of doors. It's created a lot of relationships. Like I said, I have Mel Robbins' phone number. I have Chris Voss's phone number. Chris Voss has been on twice.
Yep.
John Acuff. Yeah. His stuff is phenomenal. I mean, I still use a quote of Chris Voss's every day. And for your listeners, we got to slow down to speed up. I swear to God, I say that every day in some capacity.
What does that mean?
We have to slow down to speed up. Man, it's just life. I think just in life, I think I'm always going so fast, man, rushing here, rushing there. I gotta rush to get this email out. So I rush to get it out, and then I make an error in the email, or grammatical, or something doesn't go right. So then the email bombs, right? Or I'm rushing to get to here so that I can make sure I get on time to where I'm going, but I get pulled over. It's just all these little things. I'm rushing through my house so I don't get to spend any time and be present with my kids in the morning while they're getting ready for school, because I got to rush up to get to my office so that I make sure I get my studying in for that's life. I think like we're rushing. I'm speaking for myself, and I think a lot of people will relate, but it's almost like I'm rushing through life to get to what's next. Like it's always about like what's next. Like this is where I got to get. This is what I'm up to. Instead of just slowing down and being present, and I think the slow down to speed up it's all those areas, man. I love that quote. It's something that I seriously say almost on a daily basis. Maybe not every day, but a couple times a week, I'll remember that quote from Chris. Chris shared that with me.
I love it. Had a meeting today with some folks on my team, and we had a very similar conversation, which was me saying, I have to quit saying yes to everything. I need to slow down. I need to start prioritizing. I'm doing too much and nothing is being done at a high level. So I need to remember that quote myself. And like I said, it's very timely because I just had this conversation with my team and said, you guys have to help me, keep me accountable. I'm not starting any more businesses for a while. Like I've got to focus a little bit. So man, listen, I'm not going to take up your whole day. I really appreciate you taking the time. I love talking to folks because listen, sales is your thing, and sales permeates every bit of our life, not just business, any business you're in, life itself. And the messages of slowing down to speed up, it's so important, especially for entrepreneurs. Like, I don't care what industry you're in. If you're an entrepreneur, you run your business, whatever, that should speak to you, because I can almost guarantee you're running around like crazy trying to do things and you're making mistakes and you need to slow down a little bit. So people, go and get the Sales Playbook on Amazon. It is currently there waiting for you. And the path to I'm really giving them a hard time with this book.
Yeah, no, it has to get done now. That's it. It has to get done.
And the Path to Mastery podcast, all the luck on that. You've had some incredible guests and you've not done it by just like, sending an email or having your assistant send an email. Like you've worked your butt off to get some good people on there, and that shows that you care, and that's awesome.
Thank you, man.
I think it's very,
I appreciate
very cool.
that. I'm just excited. I think you're going to be on, right? Aren't we on like in the next day or so, right? So I'm excited about
tomorrow. Actually, I'm going to be on there tomorrow. So I've got some huge shoes. I'm now nervous. I've got some huge shoes, but it shows that you care. Dude. Yeah, man, I'm looking forward to it. I can tell you're an awesome host, and I've listened to some of your episodes because I interview a lot of people, and some people have podcasts. I rarely listen to like multiple episodes because I want to get a sense, but like I don't have tons of time. We just talked about, I'm running around all the time.
Sure.
With you, I went and did some real deep investigation. I listened to a few episodes. I wanted to hear what you were about, and I loved it. You're great at it.
So
it's a great
what? Let me ask you this then. What do you think? What did I do well? So I want to know what I did. Because I'm always looking for feedback. I want to be better.
What you did well that struck me. I'll tell you exactly. One thing that struck me when I listened to it is you did tell stories. Like it wasn't like, hello, I'm David, and I have a guest on, and here's my guest, and I hope you guys enjoyed that. See you next time, right? Like you told stories. Like I wasn't planning on listening to the whole story about Gary Vee. I just wanted to get the cliff notes of how you got him on, but you tell a good story. So I was sitting there listening, going, oh man, that's awesome. And you sucked me right in with the whole story, and I stuck around for the whole thing because it was curious.
Well, so thank you, man.
Telling stories is just great practice and anything, but you're really good at it, and it made your podcast so much more engaging than a lot of podcasts that I hear. So I would say
I appreciate that. Boy, if there's one thing I can do better, what would you say it would be?
Some of it wasn't your fault because you were hustling to get Gary Vee on, but I'm a big audio guy. I'm huge on audio. I think I've listened to podcasts before where they were clearly in their element. They weren't on location trying to get an interview from somebody huge, and their audio was horrible, and I just turned it off because I can't listen to bad audio.
Sure.
So in the ones that I listened to, you happen to be kind of like on the move and getting someone who probably was next to impossible to get.
Well, Gary was on a cell phone. Yeah.
Yeah. You can't go, hey, if you don't have a microphone or a good mic, I'm not going to interview you, right? Like you do what you can do. So the ones I listened to, it's not a great representation because you were hustling to get somebody huge. But that's always a big thing for me is audio quality is always a big deal for me.
Okay. I'll tell you one thing I'm always focused on is getting better at listening and asking questions. And what I'll do is I'll listen to my podcast after, and then I'll listen to it from a perspective of a listener. And then whenever I think I want to know the answer to that, I need to, like, if I didn't ask the question, I missed something, right? So when somebody makes a comment and my first thought is, I want to know the answer. Now, did I ask a question? Like, tell me more about that.
Yeah.
And it doesn't happen all the time, but it still happens. And that to me, that's mastery. That's the next level where none of those things ever get through.
Totally. And I think, and now we're like getting into the art of podcasting here. So I don't know if we're losing people, but I don't care. It's a good conversation.
Sorry, man.
No, man. I think it's good. I would cut it off if I didn't. But so I think you're right. Sometimes people are so ready to ask the next question. They're not listening to the answer they're getting. And if they listen to the answer they're getting, they would realize intuitively that there is a follow-up question that you need to ask. Sometimes people throw something out there and it's like, oh, I just know the next question. And they get done with their answer and you go, that's great. And then you just go to the next thing. It's like, everyone is thinking, what about this last thing he just said?
I hear that all the time.
Right? Yeah. So you're right. As someone who interviews, forget interviewing for a minute. If you're in sales and you're in someone's home and you're talking to them about their house and listing it or buying it, and you just know what you're trying to get out of them and you're not listening, you're going to miss it. Sometimes people will tell you what the pain point is and what they really want help with. And it's not always the cost or what you're ever going to offer them for their house. It could be something else. But if you're not actively listening to them, you could miss the sale because you're not paying attention. You're not engaged
100%.
in what they're saying. So it's a good life lesson, man. Forget podcasting. It's just good in life. Your kids, your wife, like listen to what they're saying. Like slow down, right? Slow down. Don't worry about what your next agenda is. Listen to what's happening in front of you. So,
amen. Yeah. And doing this has made me better at sales. It really has. It's even brought my game up a little bit, or maybe a lot of bit.
Yep. I could understand how that could be, man. Well, listen, You're awesome. Tons of good stuff here. And you've obviously got tons of knowledge. You've been doing this a long time. Great salesperson. We haven't even hit all of your accomplishments, but I touched on them when I introed you in the beginning. Best of luck to you in going forward and everything you're doing. I know you'll be great when you get that wholesaling arm going. I'm sure you'll be awesome at that. Continued success in all you're doing. Good luck on these huge guests that you're able to get.
Thank you. And one final question. What's level jumping?
Level jumping. Good. I'll explain that in detail to you when I'm on your show. But level jumping is the book I wrote, and it has to do with people talk about going to the next level, right? I'm going to take my business to the next level. And I think you can sometimes go to the next level on your own. But for me, surrounding myself with the right people, surrounding myself with people whose game is a little beyond mine, and understanding what did they do. A few years back, I really started being focused on, the five, you're the average of the sum of the five people you surround yourself with. I started surrounding myself with a higher classification of business people and just people in general. And so by talking to them about what they did in their business to get where they are, the things they did right and the things they did wrong, I was able to not just go to the next level, but I was able to what I call level jump. I skipped levels. When you were a kid and you'd go up the stairs and you'd go two at a time to get up faster. Yeah. That's what I think you can do in business. Cool. If you surround yourself with the right people and ask the right questions, you can skip levels. You can actually go from here. You don't have to go to the next level. Go to the next level. And that's what I think people can and should be doing in their business.
Well, I look forward to having that conversation. And I am going to repurpose this episode. So that's why I asked you that. So how do people get a copy of this book?
They can go right to Amazon, man. My book's on Amazon right now. I self-published right from the beginning.
Good for you.
Not to rub it in. No. Yeah, I went right from the beginning. I went to Amazon. So they can go there and get it. I think I'm going to give your folks when I'm on, if you're okay with it, I'm going to give them a way they can get that book for free even. So
awesome.
We'll talk about that when I do your show. But man, thanks for doing this. I really appreciate it. I appreciate your time. Continued success in all you do. And I can't wait to talk to you tomorrow.
Speaking of free, I want to give you something. So if people go to callreluctance.davidihill.com, they can get chapter 3 of my book. I believe it's Call Reluctance. I'm sorry, man. I'm messing your show up right now.
No, you're fine. You're okay. Listen,
let me, because when you said that, it reminded me, I want to give you, because you can get chapter 3 of my book for free, like you just said. That is available. You just have to go to Call Reluctance. Why am I not finding that? You know what? I may have to text it to you, brother.
Okay, you can do that.
Or send it to you so that you, and then you can just post it out there for your listeners, all right? So I can give them something.
Yeah, I can get it in the show notes. I'll make sure it's in the show notes for sure.
All right, man. I appreciate you doing this. Thank you. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow.
All right, same here, brother. We'll talk to you soon.
Hey, Masters, 45 seconds. That's all I ask. I appreciate you listening to the show. I don't know if I say that enough, but I know you can invest your time wherever you choose. So thank you for spending it here with us. Remember, if you want any information on me or my events coming up, just go to my website, which is davidihill.com. Again, davidihill.com. Click on the events tab. You've got webinars, you've got past webinar replays, everything is there. You can also get access to our sponsors there if you click on the affiliates link. So again, everything is at davidihill.com. And we'd love to have you join us on our Facebook community, but just go to Facebook and search groups, which is Path to Mastery. And finally, as you know, you can get yourself a free book by going to davidsfreebook.com. My friends, again, I just want to say I appreciate you spending time with us. Oh my gosh, I forgot to review. If you would, it helps so much if you'd be willing to go give me a review, and then email a review to me at david@davidihill.com. Email it to me. I'll read it on air for you. And I just want to say I appreciate you again for listening to the show. You rock. Enjoy the rest of your day.